Okay, thank you very much. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our August Planning Advisory Committee meeting. We appreciate your attendance. So without further ado, we'll get right into the business of the evening. And I would ask, are any disclosures of pecuniary interest of the general nature of, and I know there was one filed, but Mr. McHugh, or Councilor McHugh, would you like to explain?
Yes, Chair. I have a conflict with regard to Staff Report 25-061 PD. I filed the appropriate paperwork with the clerk.
Okay, so noted. And I will now ask to approve the agenda, and I might add that we have several supplemental items as has been handed out by the Secretary, and as you noted, probably in midweek, we all got circulated a revised, or I guess a revised motion on the signed bylaw that will be coming up at the end of the meeting, and I'm sure that'll be explained. So other than that, I would ask for approval of the agenda as presented, plus the supplemental material. Councillor McHugh and Mr. Edison. Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Now I would like to motion to approve the minutes of July the 17th, 2025, and detect any questions, errors, omissions you might have found in them. Okay, Councillor Quinte, we have anybody? Ms. Simmons? Any errors, omissions, questions regarding those minutes? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried, thank you. The public meeting the public meetings are prescribed under the Planning Act and are conducted as prescribed by Section 3413 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, as amended for 3 zoning bylaw amendment applications affecting land in the Sydney Ward, 1 zoning bylaw amendment affecting lands in the Trenton Ward, and 1 zoning bylaw amendment application in all lands in all wards of the city, and 1 official plan amendment application affecting lands in the Sydney Ward, and 1 official plan amendment application affecting lands in all wards. The meetings will be conducted in the following manner for each application. First, I will identify the application being considered, and then I will ask planning staff to outline the application being considered. Then ask if there are any members of the public who have registered in advance to attend and participate in the meeting and have any questions or comments regarding each application. If there are no public comments or questions, I will ask the committee if they have any questions or comments. Once all committee questions have been addressed, the committee will consider and vote on each application. If you wish to provide comments, please state your name and address for the record prior to addressing the committee. This committee has been delegated the responsibility to conduct public meetings as prescribed under the Planning Act. A full report of the meeting's proceedings will be submitted to City Council on Wednesday, September the 17th, 2025. Council will make the decision on each of the stated applications. Anyone other than the applicant who wishes to receive further notice of Council's decision on each application must submit a written request for notice of Council's decision to the Director of Planning and Development Services. I will now ask the Director of Planning and Development Services please to advise the committee on how notice of these meetings were given. Brian, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Notice of the application has been considered this evening for zoning bylaw amendment and official plan amendments were given in keeping with the provisions of the Planning Act, RSO 1990 as amended, by first-class mail on August the 1st, 2025, posting of signs on the subject properties on July 31st, 2025. Additionally, notice of application being considered this evening for both the housekeeping zoning bylaw amendment and official plan amendment were given in keeping with the provisions of the Planning Act, RSO 1990 as amended, by newspaper advertisements on July 31st, 2025 and July 29th, 2025 respectively. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, we'll move into the first item of the evening, which is 7.1, a staff report 25-063 PD, official plan amendment application. The owner is Scott Simmons and Amanda Thornton. The agent is a Frontier Homes. Location is 30A Neighborly Road. File number D09/S13/25. Kelly, would you like to address this application, please?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. The application proposes to amend the city's official plan 2024, and it applies to lands municipally known as 30A Neighborly Road. Subject property is designated as rural in our official plan and is located within Area Specific Policy 3A, which pertains to lands that are within vicinity of Oak Lake. The purpose of this official plan amendment is to apply a site-specific policy, number 41, to the subject lands only, which would facilitate the development of a 500 square foot addition to the seasonal cottage within the floodway of Oak Lake, would also allow for the continued use of an existing bunkie structure on the property, and it would also remove the need for an environmental impact study for the proposed addition. The proposed addition would not result in the dwelling being located any closer to the water's edge, and the scale of that proposal would be consistent with some of the surrounding development on Oak Lake. Approval of this application would allow for this continued use of an existing bunkie structure on the property, which, based on a review of our aerial imagery, the bunkie has existed on the property at least since 2013. No exact date on construction is known. We could not locate any building permits. Staff would be supportive of continued use of the bunkie structure, provided that the structure can't future be enlarged or renovated, and no fixtures are existing now, and none would be permitted of any kind in the future, and those include anything from kitchen sinks to toilets to bathroom sinks, that kind of thing. And this restriction on that bunkie could be achieved with restrictive zoning that could come after this application if the committee so chooses to approve. While this application seeks to remove the requirement for the environmental impact study, the applicant did opt to actually provide one. Was prepared by Ainley Group on reports dated July the 18th of 2025. Staff received that report after the staff report was written, so it's not included in your package. Staff were supportive of removing that requirement for the EIS through this amendment, as they would have been really significantly scoped to basically fish habitat, water quality, and the proposed addition and the subsequent new septic system would be in fact further away from the lake that currently existed. As well, the applicant provided a permit that LTC had given approvals already, so we were opting to not have the EIS. But as part of the EIS that Ainley did conduct, they did a site visit on May 5th of 2025, and during that visit, they reviewed fish and fish habitat along that shoreline, and no species were observed during their site inspection, including no aquatic species at risk or mussel species were identified adjacent to that property or within Oak Lake in general. The report concluded that no vegetation removal would be required as part of this proposed development, and that the proposal would support improved water quality within the lake by, of course, increasing the setback to that new septic system from that shoreline. The report included a number of mitigation measures to be implemented during the development activities, which would be implemented alongside any mitigation measures that were outlined in the permit that Lower Trent Conservation had issued. Since this application was circulated, 2 members of the public contacted the city with concerns over the proposed development. Concerns were raised over the lack of an environmental impact study, the use of the property as a permanent residence as opposed to a seasonal cottage, the increase of noise and traffic, and the loss of privacy resulting from the proposed addition. Committee was provided supplemental information, photocopies of those written correspondence that we received tonight. So should this application be approved, the next step would be site plan control application, where the technical aspects of the proposal would be reviewed more in depth through departmental review. The provisions requested by Lower Trent Conservation could be included in that site plan agreement, which would get registered on title for that property. And then once the site plan control was approved, then the final step would be a zoning bylaw amendment to include those various site-specific provisions that I mentioned, and any that might come up in that site plan review, and ultimately remove the holding symbol on the property, as is the case for most of the properties on Oak Lake. They have a holding symbol. One additional thing that Lower Trent requested that also could be put into that zoning bylaw amendment is a clause that would indicate that this particular proposal, this addition, exhausts the minor addition clause that's identified in the provincial policy statement for development within a floodway, and that future additions within a floodway would not be permitted in accordance with the comments, like I said, from Lower Trent Conservation. But overall, this application is generally consistent with the provincial policy statement and generally conforms with the city's official plan, and staff are recommending approval of the application.
Okay, thank you very much, Kelly. Do we have anyone in attendance who would like to speak in favor of this other than the applicant? Do we have anyone who would like to speak in opposition or have general questions regarding this application? Please come forward and state your name and address if you so wish. We do have, I believe, some people on the phone or virtual. Mr. Simmons, I believe you're there, and Jerry Vanderhorst, and I believe there's two other people, Nadine Trebes and David Bridges. Scott, would you like to speak?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, I just want to say hello to everybody. I'm visiting family, my brother specifically in northern Manitoba, and we've had a full day of rain today, so it's been great with the fires that are going on in this part of our country. So I would just like to say briefly that there are my girl Amanda Thornton is there, and so is our representative from Frontier Construction. And I just wanted to ensure the planning committee that if you know anything about my efforts along with Friends of Oak Lake to ensure the quality of Oak Lake doesn't just stay the same but improves over time, that we're doing anything and everything possible, as will Frontier, to make sure that that is undertaken. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else wish to address the committee, please? Either virtually or from the audience? Okay, hearing none, committee, I would ask that you consider the recommendation, and as you've heard, to approve, or I will entertain any questions and a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Okay. Ms. Simmons seconds it, or a question? Will I have a seconder to put on the floor? I've got a motion here. Do I have a seconder to put it on the floor? Mr. Edison, okay, questions?
I just have a question about the seasonal residential, as opposed to, what sort of restrictions there are. Does the person have to vacate the property for some period of time, and what amount of time is that?
Kelly, would you like to address that, or Brian?
Maybe I'll start, and then Brian he'll probably want to jump in anyway. We don't have in the bylaw or official plan a definition for seasonal residential. So in terms of, saying that you have to be out at least 30 days across a calendar year, we don't have anything like that for seasonal.
Thank you.
Any further comment, Mr. Ardeen?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. I think the only other statement I would make is that I think I would classify the kind of seasonal tag on this as, to be honest, quite a historic and perhaps somewhat outdated kind of zoning characteristic. If you imagine back to initial developments when cottage structures were placed, they were very small and were truly designed and developed for summer use effectively. Any new construction, obviously, building code, etc., requires a much higher standard, and so the buildings themselves, whether they're being renovated, reconstructed, or constructed new, are developed a much higher standard, which are not seasonal by nature of their construction. So effectively, we are not enforcing seasonality. Very hard to enforce because you're starting to enforce people and people's movements as opposed to the structures on the property. So we don't enforce that part. It's part of our housekeeping amendments that you're seeing coming forward on our zoning bylaw, catching up with our official plan. You'll probably see something coming forward where we'll try and address that, but where we don't enforce seasonality. It would be very hard and it would be very easy to challenge in terms of how we're trying to restrict people's movements. That's, as you know, something that we try very hard not to do. Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much. And the other question I had was, there was in the attachments, the paper, they showed a heat pump on a bunkie. And so what is allowed on a bunkie or in a bunkie?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I think the important thing is the answer to your question is nothing specific, nothing good nor bad. Through this application, the way that it's being dealt with is a recognition of its existence, but a clarification that it cannot be developed into something more than it is. So no fixtures, no plumbing, anything like that to turn it into an apartment. So that's the important thing. It recognises the fact that it exists and would permit for its continued use. But that's all.
Any further questions from the committee? Councillor Kosovas.
Thank you. Just maybe Mr. Simmons can provide some clarification. I know staff mentioned that there was no building permit issued that they're aware of, so 2013 was as far as you could trace it back, correct? Was Mr. Simmons the owner prior to 2013? If you could just clarify that. If you knew when the bunkie was constructed.
Go ahead, Mr. Simmons, are you here?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I bought the property from Carl and Marjorie Bateman in 2017. Carl has obviously passed since before I bought it, pardon me. Marjorie told me that cabin was on that property since the late 1980s. The house was built in 82, and Carl used it for a workshop. When I inherited the what is called a bunkie, it had electric baseboard heat on the back and a great big industrial light on top, I guess for his workshop. I don't have very many skills with tools. I was just trying to make things more efficient and a little bit more safe. I don't trust electric baseboard. It's through the entire house. And it is a 4-season dwelling. I've lived there since I bought it in 2017, and though Carl and Marjorie spent many summers or winters in Florida, they lived there for about 6 or 7 years in total year-round, she told me. So it's a 4-season home and always has been. The bunkie really is just going to allow me to continue to store any of my outdoor things in it, any of my liquids like paints and solvents I don't now have to, take somewhere else because I've got a better heating system in there to keep those things liquid. So that's how it's going to be used, maybe as a little workout area for myself, but never will be water or sewer in there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Scott. Any other questions from the committee? Okay, we have a motion on the floor to approve the recommendation as presented. Seeing no further questions or comments, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. We now move to staff report 7.2, staff report 25-064 PD, draft plan of subdivision zoning bylaw amendment. The owner is 792076 Ontario Inc. The agent is WSC Consulting Inc. The location is Huffman Road. The file number is D12/S06/25 and D09/S14/25. Kelly, would you like to address this application, please?
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. The applicant has submitted these applications concurrently, one for the draft plan and one for the zoning bylaw amendment on lands on the south side of Huffman Road. The draft plan for the subdivision contains 101 lots for single detached dwellings, 10 blocks for townhouse units totaling 40 units, one block for a stormwater management facility, and a new internal road. Thank you, Vanna. One with connection on Huffman Road and one connection to Caleb Crescent, pardon me, within the Antonio Heights West subdivision. And the purpose of the zoning bylaw amendment is to rezone the subject properties from rural zone to the residential type 2 zone and residential type 3 exception 9 zone. Applying the residential type 3 exception would permit a reduction in the exterior side yard from 5 meters to 4 meters for all dwellings, and the minimum rear yard for townhouse dwellings from 6 meters to 5 meters. And the owner has submitted several documents in support of the proposed development, including traffic review from WSE Consulting dated May 7th, 2025, a preliminary stormwater management report dated May 7th, 2025, and a preliminary servicing report, again from WSE Consulting, dated May 7, 2025. These supplemental materials are all available for review at City Hall. And they're all currently being reviewed by departments. The traffic study includes a review of the road network, internal as well as connections to Huffman Road. And there could be potential for changes based on that internal review. The preliminary stormwater management report provides a summary of stormwater management requirements for this development, and it states that both quantity and quality control for the subject lands would be provided via a wet pond facility. The servicing report provides an overview of the servicing strategy and requirements for that proposed development, and it recommends the extending of sanitary sewer to the subject lands via Caleb Crescent. And then in terms of water and some servicing, an additional servicing would be recommended along Huffman Road and Caleb Crescent. The cost of these extensions would be borne by the developer. The city has received written comments from some neighboring property owners, and their concerns include traffic safety, strain on environmental community services and infrastructure, environmental concern, location of signage, that's, I believe, signage for this public meeting, a lack of public consultation. Other residents asked general questions about the application, including the development process, site grading, and stormwater management. The applicant and the applicant's engineer are here tonight, so they can hopefully come and ask to the podium, be asked to the podium. But overall, some of these design considerations, including the right-of-way width, intersection alignment, and upgrades to Huffman Road, will need to be addressed. So this is just a public meeting. At this time, we are not putting forward a recommendation. It's just the statutory public meeting. Once we hear from any public concerns, we get departmental comments, we'll wrap that all up together and bring it back to the committee with a recommendation and some draft conditions at a later date for the committee to consider. So therefore, we're thinking, like I said earlier, the final layout, individual lot configuration, location of entrance to the subdivision could change, but we'll see as it moves through the process. So as I said, we're just doing a public meeting with no recommendation. That's it.
Thank you very much, Kelly. As Kelly said, there'll be no decision made on this tonight. We're here to hear public comments. Before I ask the public, would the developer or his agent like to speak prior, or do you want to wait and see what questions might come up other than what Kelly has brought forward? Okay, you want to wait? Okay. All right, this time then, I will ask, is any member of the public like to come forward and address any concerns, opposition, or general questions? Please come forward and state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Lawrence DeLong. I live at 85 Huffman in Frankfurt. So one of the properties that'll be backing onto the stormwater management proposed area. Some questions that I do have, and they may have been addressed with other, with mail-ins and such, but I wasn't aware of that, is the concern with traffic. Where the entrance is going to be is very close to where I live. It's a top of a hill with a blind side going up there and coming out. We do get some traffic going through there, and unfortunately, some people do go a little fast. So I would be concerned how we're going to manage having an extra 141 households, possibly, 200 plus cars coming through to be able to manage this. Are we looking at a three-way stop? Are we looking at what sort of things would we want to have in there to be able to control and manage that, to slow things down? Because there's a lot of young kids, including my grandkids that live with us, that are there. So, of course, we want safety to be first. I think the answer for what was a stormwater management facility going to be is the wet pond, which is, I believe that's the same thing that would be on Mitchell, which is just down the road from us. That's, I think.
Probably that
that's what it
same type of design. I know that'll be done probably down the road, engineered to fit that site, of course, yeah.
is. Yeah, of course. Do we know when the anticipated start for the development would be, and the length of time is that we're proposing that this will take?
Well, I'm going to ask staff maybe to, the process here to get going, it's not going to be yesterday kind of thing.
No.
It's going to be down the road, but maybe you could give an idea of the, as far as approvals from the staff, and then it'll be up to the developer when they put the shovel in the ground, I guess, yes.
Yeah, exactly, through you, Mr. Chair. Timing-wise, it will depend on how much information or comments back and forth with the staff and the developer's engineer to finalize it. And so we're not, this committee meets once a month. I'm not going to predict that we'll be able to get through it in 1 month and come back for September, but maybe it might be October to get that finalized, and then it will go to council for their final approval. And we usually put a 3-year lapsing clause within those draft conditions, so the developer will have 3 years to work through the detailed engineering process and whatnot in order to actually finalize the subdivision and get it registered on title.
So, sorry for my ignorance, does that mean that realistically things wouldn't start for 3 years, or they'd have 3 years to do the work?
No, it could be that it wouldn't get started for another 3 years,
Okay.
yeah. Not very often does that take that long for a developer to work through the draft conditions. I would maybe estimate maybe more like a year that it would take to actually get final approval.
Okay. Great. And the last question I had is, I guess, just to, utilities. You mentioned about the water connections, and I'm assuming that we've looked at supply demands as well, that there will be adequate sewer and water supply, that the rest of us aren't going to necessarily be impacted with, low water pressure. So like when I go to have my shower, it's going to take me an hour and a half now to wash off this body.
Robert?
So.
We do have the manager of Public Works Capital Projects in the on the other side of the room, if he might want to answer that. I can't see him from.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. So this property was studied in the 2021 Water Wastewater Master Plan. Although the servicing was illustrated differently, we're currently reviewing to ensure that there is sufficient sanitary capacity and then there is sufficient water capacity.
Okay. Thank you.
And I guess your other question was maybe Robert can answer that, was I imagine the traffic study and also he was concerned with the intersection and the blind spot on the hill. Maybe you might want to address that. I know that'll be addressed down the road as far as engineering and public works staff.
Sure, I can talk a little bit about the intersection. We are discussing with the developer the exact layout of that intersection. But with respect to the traffic study, I think I would defer to when Mr. Wilson takes the podium. He's the one who authored the traffic study, so he would be the best person to address those comments.
Thank you. That's it.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Mr. Wilson, want to discuss the traffic maybe at this time? And then we'll go further for questions.
Yeah, so Adam Wilson, WSC Consulting, representing the land developers. So traffic, so our study was envisioning some turning lanes to be added to Huffman, but through some consultation we've had with the municipality since our application, we're expecting that it will end up being a three-way stop as part of our first phase of construction. The pond, it will be similar to what is just down the road. Construction, so yes, about a year after we get through this process for planning, we typically would envision the detailed engineering to be completed. But I would caution that market demand really will trigger whether we start that construction or not. And we're envisioning 3 phases of construction right now. I would say each phase is around 2 years from start to completion, including the house construction. But again, it's all market demand that would dictate how many phases and when they start. I think that was everything you asked. Okay.
Okay, thanks, Adam. Anyone else? Come forward, please. State your name and address. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Hello, can you hear
Welcome.
me? Oh.
And state your name and address for the record, please.
My name's Angela Quantz. I'm the homeowner and occupant at 72 Megan Lane since August 3rd, 2023. It is a location that is matching the proposed R3-9 zoning. That is a large proportion of this site. Using the interactive GIS mapping for Quinte West, the development that I currently live in appears to be the only site that has the R3-9 zoning currently within the boundaries of Quinte West. And while I understand and have no opposition to the rezoning from rural to residential as necessary and required by part of the Quinte West master plan, my objection is to the density and type giving the R3-9 zoning. As stated, the exemption allows for reduction of lot sizes matching those currently in place in this subdivision which I live, which is currently in phase 2 of development. My objections are based on grading and drainage in our unique terrain, being on a glacial drumlin with large elevation changes. I understand that phase 1 of the development that I'm in currently had issues with drainage on Caleb Crescent, and I'm also experiencing drainage challenges for my property and want to voice my concerns to address these at the application stage of this property so future homeowners are not placed in the same position. In the WSC Consulting preliminary stormwater management report, item 6 in the report speaks to use of silt dams and stray bales, and I have verbally requested silt dams and hay bales to protect my property on several occasions after having flooding on my property that on separate occasions washed away part of my driveway, flooded my side yard and my rear yard. Temporary sandbags were sourced and placed by the builder, Hilden Homes, provided by Quinte West Public Works only after the rear yard flooded, and that has now since been repaired several times by the builder's landscapers. Today, homes are still being developed in Phase 2 without these measures in place, and there remains a danger of repeat flood episodes to properties. Although these recommendations are in the engineering reports, they're not used in practice during development. The location of the stormwater management pond is also a concern, as it is opposite of a natural pond already on this property. In this area, there are many subterranean natural springs that, for example, feed Oak Lake in Quinte West and Lake on the Mountain in Prince Edward County. These spring-fed lakes are at high elevation. Please reconsider the location of the stormwater management pond to match the natural features and try not to tame environmental conditions. If R3-9 zoning remains a consideration for this site, I would recommend additions to the subdivision agreement to address stormwater drainage and landscaping, to include permeable features, fencing, etc., that are not currently governed by other municipal or provincial restrictions. In conclusion, an R3-9 zoning will mean less softscape area for groundwater absorption and put homes at risk. Please consider a lower density zoning for this property. In the development in Quinte West Highway 2 and 2nd Doug Hill Road in Trenton is an R3-8 zoning that is a flatter terrain than this proposed development. And should anyone from planning, engineering, or the developers be interested, I can provide photos of the 2-year history of the groundwater and drainage issues experienced for my property since possession. What looks good on paper may not equate to the living results as executed. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Kelly or Brian, would you like to address as far as the consideration of the R3 on this maybe, and any other concerns, and maybe engineering, I guess, with the proposed, I guess, stormwater pond and proposed drainage that will have to be done, I guess, down the road to alleviate any of these concerns and problems?
Yes, Mr. Chair, maybe I'll start on the kind of the density question, and then either turn to the consultant engineer or on staff in relation to grading and drainage. Obviously, as the resident clearly knows the process and the review components, and that there will be full engineering of the site, and that will lead to site grading and drainage plans, which obviously you recognise, but that you feel that may not suffice. We will follow through that process, and certainly we'll take your comments under recognition. The engineers, when they design the site, will be or should be recognising the peculiarities of the site, of any site, when they do that stormwater design, both the location of the pond, the size and design of the pond, and the system that gets the water to that pond. Obviously, as you clearly recognise, there is a connection there to the density of the property, and there's a balance there. When it comes to zoning, while we recognise that there is only maybe one other location that's got the R3-9, I think that's maybe looking at it too closely. There are many other sites in the municipality of other types of residential zones where exceptions have been made, where higher density has been kind of included, where it's reasonable. So while there might only be one other R3-9, there's other R2 exception zones and R4 exception zones, etc. So there's many sites, and it's fairly common, and the committee are well aware of this, that one of the main directions right now, as will come as no surprise to anybody, is to maximise the use of land. This municipality has changed dramatically, as you all know, over the last few years in terms of the types of housing we get. This is still very much considered a low-density residential development by standards if you look outside of the local area. But within that low-density category, developers are looking, using townhouses, semi-detached, etc. We've all seen it. And there is an onus on the municipality to ensure that both the best use of land is made and that the services are available to service that. But we do definitely take your point. There's a balance point there between the density of the site and the peculiarities of the site, or the sensitivities of the site, particularly when it comes to groundwater and drainage. So we'll definitely be having that conversation with the developer when we match the density up with the stormwater review that's been done. But as I say, this would still be categorised as a low-density site, and I think included in the report. I think I probably can't find the number right now, but the density that's being proposed here is probably about half of what the policies, the planning policies, would allow for the site. So it's still very, very much under the threshold. So we've obviously got to take consideration of that. It's not something we would consider as high density, but we definitely have received your comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Adam, would you like to make any comment in regards to any of the concerns the lady had, please?
Just say that unfortunately, I'm not the engineer for the adjacent land, so I can't speak to the silt fencing and the hay bales. I suspect you back on to the proposed development? No? Okay. My understanding is there is some drainage from the proposed lands to the adjacent property now, creating some ponding and spring runoff. A lot of that will be resolved once this land is developed, as it will capture that water and direct it to the pond as opposed to the backyards. So I would envision that drainage will be improved overall. I've written down the notes. I will take it all into consideration when we get to detailed design.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else like to come forward and express any concerns or questions or opposition?
Hi there, can you hear me?
Okay, ma'am, go ahead. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah?
we can.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
It's for the previous, it's for the previous application. I wasn't able to speak because I was muted. Should I wait or can I speak now?
Could you just clarify that more, ma'am?
For the 30 Neighborly Road application, I wasn't able to speak then because I was muted. Can I speak now, or do you want me to wait till this one is done and then go after?
Well, if you want to speak, we can. The committee's already made a decision on it, but you're certainly welcome to express your opinions. Go ahead.
Okay, like the only thing that wasn't discussed was the impaired privacy that we will have by adding that addition, because right now it's like we have a lot of space between the two buildings, but that would be taken away, and it would also take away part of our lake view. That was the only thing that we wanted to mention to take into consideration.
Okay.
So it will change the value of our property potentially as well.
Okay, and I think some of the information that we have here in the supplemental did show that was cutting down on sightlines, I guess, of certain areas that you were looking at, the lake, as I recall when I leafed through it there quickly. So I'm presuming that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, yes, correct.
Okay, well, your comments are duly noted. Sorry we didn't get to you earlier, ma'am.
And no, it's okay. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your attendance. I'll make one last call. Anyone else wish to comment on this proposal we're dealing with here at Huffman Road right now? Jerry? Go ahead, you're muted.
Okay, great. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to read the letter that I've written to this application. So, dear Mayor Harrison, members of council and planning staff, we are writing as owners of 135 Huffman Road, which directly abuts the eastern boundary of this entire proposed subdivision. We respectfully submit our objection to the draft plan of this subdivision in its current form. Our concerns are based on legitimate planning considerations, including safety, compatibility, environmental impacts, and quality of life for existing residents. And I have a number of points here that I'd like to address. Safety and road safety and traffic considerations. The proposed road entrance on Huffman Road is located near the crest of a hill. This creates poor visibility for drivers entering and exiting, increasing risk of collisions. Adding 100 plus new residential lots will significantly increase the local traffic on Huffman Road, which is already narrow and not designed for high volumes. This raises pedestrian and vehicle safety concerns, especially for school buses and emergency services. Land compatibility. The subject lands are currently being used as farmland. Transitioning directly from agricultural land to a dense residential block is not consistent with the established rural character of this area northwest of Frankfurt. Placing 34 lots directly against our property line will create a sharp and incompatible edge condition, negatively affecting privacy, noise levels, and enjoyment of our property. Environmental and buffering requirements. There is a very mature tree line currently separating the subdivision lands from our property. This vegetation provides natural privacy screening, wildlife habitat, and a noise buffer. It is critical that this tree line be preserved and enhanced as a dedicated buffer strip between the subdivision and our property. Removing this tree line would cause significant loss of privacy, increased noise, and visual impacts. Proper buffering is a recognized planning tool in the Ontario Planning Act and the Quinte West Official Plan to ensure new development is compatible with existing adjacent uses. Number 4, privacy and quality of life. Backing 34 lots directly onto our property will create severe privacy impacts with these homes overlooking our yard. Additional noise from vehicles, air conditioners, backyard use will significantly alter the peaceful character of our property and reduce enjoyment of our home. The application requests type 3 exceptions to reduce side yard for all dwellings and rear yard setbacks for townhouses. Granting these restrictions would further intensify the impact on adjacent properties, squeezing more building mass closer to our property line. This undermines compatibility and increases privacy and noise concerns. Setback standards exist to protect neighboring properties and ensure adequate separation between built form and established uses. Reducing them in this location where 34 lots already abut one property is unreasonable and contrary to good planning practice. For these reasons, we respectfully request that council and staff will deny this subdivision in its current form and at a minimum require modifications including preservation, enhancement, and widening of the existing tree line as a permanent buffer strip with additional landscaping and fencing, a reduction in the number of lots abutting on property, and a relocation or redesign of the road entrance to address safety, traffic safety, and visibility concerns. The one last thing I would like to add is that the density of this subdivision is completely inconsistent with the already in progress subdivision that is being constructed on the western edge of our property, also on Huffman Road. There are currently 18 lots being built there. And as you can see, the ratio from 18 to 101 is completely, quite different. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you very much for your attendance. I'm sure staff are taking all the various concerns you had there under advisement, and as was stated earlier, there is no decision on this tonight, and it will go further with all your comments, yours and the other folks that have participated will be looked at in putting any final decision together for this committee and eventually council. So thank you very much for your attendance. Do we have anyone else who would like to address this committee regarding this proposed subdivision? Okay. Committee, I would ask you now to consider a motion. We are just to receive both the plan and the zoning. There'll be no decision, but we have to receive the report, so, Mr. Brown?
I just had a follow-up question for Mr. Wilson, if you don't mind. Thanks. As you know, we have a housing shortage pretty well across the country, and the province is really amped up pressure on municipalities to build more and more and more homes. You mentioned when the question was asked how long this project would take in total, you mentioned that that would depend also on the market demand, like the building phases. So being that it appears that there's already a real high demand for places for people to live, what did you mean by when you said market demand?
So what's happening right now is new houses that have been built and are for sale they're not even having open houses. People aren't coming through, people aren't making offers. The market is stagnant, even though there's a huge demand. I'm not going to pretend to understand the rationale behind that, but that is the reality that we have right now.
Could it be because the houses are priced too high for a lot of people?
Certainly, the price point is a factor. And we could go on and on about what drives up the costs of housing.
Yeah. But would you say sitting on a project for longer than necessary might drive up the prices unnecessarily? And because we had a whole generation of people who are pretty well looking at the possibility of never owning a home. That's a pretty bleak future. So
yeah.
if we just artificially slow things down, is that being part of the solution or the opposite?
I'm not sure about that. I would suspect that holding on to property, the costs increase the same as inflation. I don't think there's any benefit to holding on to it long-term, speculating, and I don't think that that's what I've seen from any of our local builders. I really, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I would say is what I've noticed is finishes are a big factor. And a lot of people want high-end finishes, which drive up their pricing and make it unaffordable, and they're not willing to go down to basics.
Yeah.
That's something that I've talked to local builders about, and they're trying to get those price points down, and they just can't.
Yeah, well, I do think, though, if we were a little more expedient in the building process, that prices would start coming down. I think that would help a lot of people out. So, just kind of pausing something, I don't think that's really conducive to a solution. Anyway.
I agree, but, and maybe, Eric, you want to speak to this, but it's a lot of capital to put out to build the subdivision, build the house, and then have nobody come and buy it. It's a lot of money. One thing that gets overlooked a lot is it's not just the actual cost, but it's the security. So for every dollar spent, you need $2. So if you build a phase, let's say it's a $2 million phase to build the road, and then you've got 50 houses, we're talking a serious investment, and if nobody's buying, these builders go bankrupt. I have a project in Valville, builder's only doing 4 units, and he's on the verge of bankruptcy because nobody's buying.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm the wrong person to ask these questions. It's far too complex for my engineering.
I think it's a widespread problem across the board. But I wanted to pick up on what you said because not a lot of people say it out loud.
Okay.
So thanks.
Yeah.
That's all I had for you for questions. I did have some concerns because I live in Frankfurt myself, and I know I talk to a lot of people. So obviously we need the homes. Hoffman Road, yes. I spent about 20 minutes, half an hour there last week just observing traffic. Yeah, there's going to be a lot more cars, but that just goes with having more homes. One more car on the road is one more hazard on the road. There are ways to cope with that for sure. I think there's a few issues here. One is, in my view, and a lot of people I talk to, we're underserviced. Not underserved, please don't get me wrong there. We're underserviced by police. I'll just give you a few examples, things that I observed either firsthand or secondhand. But on my block, one night last summer, it took police 30 minutes to arrive. It was a call involving a man threatening someone with a knife. So a lot can go wrong in 30 minutes when you have a situation like that. Last October 31st, the early morning hours of October 31st, 2024, Quinte West Fire Station 7, Frankfurt, arrived on scene to a shooting before police showed up. So, what are we doing there? I personally have waited on hold for 4 minutes when I called 911. What's 4 minutes in a cardiac arrest call? You know, that's the one number you should expect to call and not have to wait on hold. And often when you call police, they have difficulty figuring out where in Ontario you even are. So that's something that's really going to have to be stepped up. And if you're adding 141 new homes, that's a problem that's only going to be magnified on top of overcrowding schools, families not having doctors, and stuff like that. So that would be the biggest concern I have, again, from living in Frankfurt and having observed things myself and through other people and from feedback that I heard. So again, not opposed to the homes, but there are things that certainly need to be picked up, and policing is one of them.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Adam, if you want to.
Yeah, so absolutely. One thing I would point out is that the recently adopted DC study includes emergency services, and this property would generate a lot of DC funds to go towards those projects.
Well,
And we do have, I think, 3 people here that sit on the Police Services Board can take those response times back and concerns. Maybe you want to even address it. I'm not sure, Mr. Chair.
Well, you know, listen, if there's a concern about policing, this is not the place to bring it. If you have a concern, you bring it to the Police Service Board. We'll make sure the police know how you feel and what you've seen. Yeah, I've lived on Harrison Road since 1963, and it takes me longer to get out on Miron Road. Yeah. And I can't help that, but that's what's happening in our city. It is growing. And I really appreciate the people who take the effort and make the effort to build more homes. And the Premier also spoke about that just this week when we were at the Association of Municipalities of Ontario conference. And he is telling us that there will be some more money coming forward to help us and other places with infrastructure, because we've got to improve many areas in our city. And water and wastewater are certainly 2 of them. Water will never be an issue for the city of Quinte West. Why? Because we've got a great supply. We have a great supply of water, yes. And I want also, Mr. Chair, to compliment the people who live around Oak Lake. And I've visited Oak Lake on several occasions. And I respect you wholeheartedly for making an effort to keep the water quality and quantity of Oak Lake as pristine as it is right now. And you've made many efforts to control the effluent from your waste system. Yes, there are likely some more that need to be improved, but I thank you very much for doing what you have accomplished at this time. And you know, yes, we have a density, we have a number of homes that have to be built. Land is not going to increase. We can't, you know, use up 40 acres and all of a sudden reestablish another 40 acres to take its place. That's not going to happen. So we've got to, as a builder, and yes, he has to certainly build X and Y so that he can, you know, pay for the land. As I said, I bought a piece of property in 1983. Yes, and I sold some lots off that property. I wished I still had them. Yes, I sold them for $20,000. Today's price, they're worth $100+ per lot, and that also means that when you build in the rural, you've got to put in a septic system and you've got to drill a well on top of the price of the lot. And the builder's faced with that too and what he's doing. And I can tell you, Mr. Chair and I have been around a day or two, and we know the builder in this case, and I know very well that he says what he means what he says, and he does what he said he'll do. So I respect that, and I know staff, and between the resident staff and the politicians, we try to make things so that everybody is going to progress and feel better about our city. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else like to make a comment on this? Ms. Simmons and then Councillor O'Neill.
So I understand that people aren't buying homes, which is maybe economic. I'm really worried about the future and global warming, and yes, right now we have a housing shortage, but down the road, when myself and the rest of the baby boomers are dead, I live in an old subdivision, and there's homes for sale that nobody's buying as well. So I think we have to think about the future, and, governments change and they only look at 3 to 4 years. But long term, they're thinking now of cutting down immigration. I mean, the birth rate is falling. So whatever we do now, we have to do right. My concern is when you build a density like this, you do need to provide some sort of green space just to mitigate the effects of climate change. And we need to build, I know right now the push is more homes, but as you said, people aren't buying. And, 10 years from now, are we going to need all these homes? I don't know.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Neal.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, first comment to that, I think the long-term plans, when we do our development studies, are a lot longer than 3 years. And two, you can't expect a builder to build more houses when he can't sell the ones that he's already built. That's unrealistic as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else like to make comment?
Sure.
Councilor Quinte?
First of all, I'll make the motion that we receive the application,
Okay.
seeing as we need to
Second by Councilor McHugh.
get that done.
Put down the floor. Okay, go ahead.
Certainly, according to the Premier and the Prime Minister, homes are required. And this particular piece of property was set out in the city's official plan for development many years ago. So here we are. The developer certainly has to stick his neck out to get to this point, and it's already been mentioned about investment in infrastructure. The property just to the east of this, where the development is still underway, there is a water feature there to try to mitigate with surface water. That's already there. And so I don't know if I have her name right, Angela, I don't know her last name, Bonks, did I get that right? Who lives at 72 Megan Lane. So it sounds like you've had some issues, you made some contact with the developer, and some mitigation efforts have been tried. I don't know how they're going to work out, but your property is quite a ways from the water feature or the now I guess it's will be a municipal feature to help with drainage and such. So I'm not certain exactly. I guess I'd have to. I did Google map your property, but I guess I'm actually going to drive there and see it for myself sometime really soon. But to speak of the traffic issues, our Public Works and our Planning Department will be addressing all of those issues, just like they have with many other developments all across the city. We have many subdivisions that are in process, and road construction. Second Doug Hill Road is one of those that's been addressed for many, many years, and we finally have some resources to do some work there to help with safety issues and also traffic issues, and to modernize our infrastructure for water and wastewater. It's a big, it certainly is a great big puzzle, and it's to just look at one little subdivision. I know it's 100 homes, so it's really not that little, but in comparison to the entire city, it's not a very big parcel of land, really. And we as councillors are looking at all of these things, and we need our planning staff and our public works staff to guide us through these processes. And in order to get homes built, this is the process we got to take. So I want to thank everybody for coming out. Just because we're accepting the process at this point in time, certainly going to be future meetings, certainly welcome to come to those, and certainly welcome to make any comments to the planning staff in regards to this process at any time. Thanks.
Yes, thank you very much. Before I ask for the vote, Eric, would you like to make any comments on any of the I guess, comments and questions as we move forward. You're the main guy. I guess that it's a number cruncher. It has to make the decisions whether to yay or nay, go ahead, whatever. So if you'd like to address it, I'd leave it up to you at your discretion.
Yeah, no, thank you for the opportunity. As people in the room know, we've done all the other phases of Antonia Heights, and we'd like to keep going, I guess, keep going west. The big question is when, and you've seen, if you're living in Megan Lane, things have slowed down. A couple of years ago, we couldn't build them fast enough. We could do 20 or 30 houses per year in there, and now it seems like we can't sell 6. So what's happening is hard to really comprehend. All builders would love to sharpen our pencils to sell our product. We're not doing anything sitting at home. It's just a cyclical thing. I've been doing this for 40 years. I survived the 1990 crash when houses wouldn't sell either.
Me too.
Yeah. So, you know, when people ask, when will we do it and how quick will it go, that's at this point impossible to answer. We do own the land. We're going through the process. We anticipate to carry on and put the first phase in if we can get through it within a year, and because we're optimistic that the last few lots that we do have up on Megan Lane will be built out and sold eventually. So other than that, I appreciate the comments from the community that lives there. I also respect that change is difficult, growth is difficult, but inevitably it has to be done. If we're not growing, we're dying as a community, and we are trying to get a mix of residents in there for different types of lifestyles, everything from single family to townhouses. And as you heard earlier, we're not even anywhere near the density that ideally the city would like, because we're small town Ontario. I know we're Quinte West, but it is Frankfurt, and it's still sort of considered a little small hamlet, rural community, and we're trying to keep that flavor to it. So we look forward to carrying on.
Could I ask you a question?
Yes, go ahead.
So I'm just questioning, when you have so many units and you'll have probably a mixture with children as well, is there any idea of providing a park or a little parkette or anything like that in that area?
So from what I understand, working with the planners, we have dedicated park land, and I'm guessing it was about an acre in the previous phase.
Okay.
And
yes.
you maybe don't see it on the plan, but I'm sure we'll have a walkway to that. So the park that's there and it being established, it's got playground equipment, it's got space, it's got trees. This community will have access to it. So what we do is we'll be making a financial contribution to continue to enhance that park through the park levy, I guess it's called, in lieu of more land. And so hopefully those funds will be used to enhance the existing park that's large enough for that whole community.
For that community.
Yeah.
And what about the tree barrier that was mentioned by one of the residents?
Trees. Nobody likes to cut trees down, and I for one agree, but the challenge with subdivisions, because of the tightness, we're going to damage roots. If we're going to try to save a tree, they're going to die. We've worked around trees even in rural areas, and we've tried to save trees. 3 years later, you can see we've either somehow they get damaged. You change the environment around them. It's not, and we have to do drainage swales along the perimeter to make sure our water doesn't drain on neighbors and vice versa. That unfortunately trees are difficult to maintain. I think you'll notice on Megan Lane we did plant some trees as you come in by the park, by the storm pond, and we're glad to plant some more trees. It just takes a little longer. As you and I look at each other, we realize we won't maybe see them fully matured, but our kids and our grandkids will have the pleasure of trees that we do replant.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Kozovas.
Thank you. Just for comparison's sake, can we just clarify, the one gentleman on the phone mentioned that the neighboring property had 18 houses, this one has 100. But yes, thank you, Brian. I just like to, they're not the same land size, correct?
Yeah, through Mr. Chair. So I think the gentleman was referring to a recent plan of subdivision to his west, so further down Huffman Road. The difference there is that's a rural subdivision. It was approved quite a long time ago. It took a few years to actually come to the development stage, but it's on private wells, private septics, so they obviously require much larger lots. This development, however, as you know, is on municipal services, so much smaller lots, much higher density. That's the difference. You're comparing apples and oranges. Yep.
Thank you. I just want anyone listening to hear what you just said, that it's not the same subdivision that's being proposed.
That's a very good question, that's for sure. Anyone else have any comments or questions? If not, we have a motion on the floor to receive, and both the official plan amendment, or the plan of subdivision, and also the zoning bylaw. And they'll be dealt with at a future date, as Ms. West has said, down the road, maybe in a couple months or so, plus or minus, we'll put it that way. Yeah, okay, no further questions or comments. All in favor to receive? Thank you, carried. We'll now move on to item 7.4, or 7.3, I should say, sorry. It's a staff report 25-065 PD, zoning bylaw amendment application, and the owner is Isaac William DeWall. Agent is Greg King. Location is 470 Deer Run Road. The file number is D09/15/25. Katie, would you like to address this application, please?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. This rezoning is a condition of consent application B27/25S, which was approved by the Committee of Adjustment on June the 12th, 2025. Under the consent application, the Committee of Adjustment conditionally approved one new 0.41 hectare lot. The purpose of the zoning amendment is to rezone the severed parcel from the rural zone to the rural residential zone and bring the lot into conformity with the zoning bylaw. The approval of this application will facilitate the development of the subject lands with the residential use at a future time. The application is consistent with the provincial planning statement, the city's official plan, and maintains the intent of the zoning bylaw. This application is recommended for approval.
Okay, thank you very much, Katie. Do we have anyone in attendance on an applicant who would like to speak in favor of this? Anyone in opposition or have general questions? Seeing none, Greg, you're the agent or representative. Any questions or comments? Okay, thank you. Okay, if there's no further questions or comments, I would ask the committee to consider the recommendation, as you've heard, to approve. And Ms. Simmons, and I'll get one down this way. Mr. Councilor Card. Any further questions or comments from the committee? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried, thank you. We now move to item 7.4, staff report 25-066 PD. It's a zoning bylaw amendment application, and the owner's Farden Group Incorporated. Location is 5 Birch Street. File number is D09/T16/25. Kelly, would you like to address this application, please?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. So the purpose of this zoning amendment is to rezone the property from the residential type 2 zone to a residential type 3 zone to facilitate the development of two townhouse structures on the property. The western building, the western building would contain 5 units, while the eastern building would contain 4 units. And these townhouse units would be offered for rental. The subject property is located within our Planning District 9B of our Trenton Urban Service Area, which allows for low and medium density residential. And based on the size of this property overall, a maximum density of 10 units would be permissible. So we are well within the low density requirements at 9 units there. In support of this application, the property owner has submitted some of the following materials. Of course, the site plan that you see in front of you, a stormwater management brief prepared by Three Hills Engineering and dated June the 19th of 2025, a functional servicing report, again by Three Hills Engineering, dated July the 2nd, 2025, traffic impact brief, again by Three Hills Engineering and dated June 19th of 2025, as well as a record of site condition that is dated September 20th of 2021. Since the application was circulated, 3 members of the public have contacted the city for more information. And the nature of those inquiries ranged from just asking for copies of the site plan, whether the dwellings would be city-operated or offered for affordable housing, and none of the residents had expressed any concerns over the proposed amendment. So it should be noted, as I mentioned, that this is only 9 units, and the city cannot implement site plan control, as we probably would have in the past, as the province changed our ability to ask for site plan control on properties that have less than 10 units or less. So this is why we asked for some of those more detailed studies for this zoning application, as we will only be able to move forward, should this be approved, to a building permit application. Overall, though, this application does can be consistent with the provincial planning statement. It conforms to our official plan, and it also represents some good planning. The application is therefore recommended for approval.
Okay, thank you very much, Kelly. Do we have anyone in attendance other than the applicant who'd like to come forward and speak, please? Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, everybody. Tom Beeringer. I'm at 13 Gilmore Court, which my backyard is facing this property. When I came there in 2017, coming from Toronto, retirement, it was a beautiful property. I have almost 100 foot of my fence is facing this. My backyard is facing this. And one of the concerns I thought about looking at this is that becoming townhomes, the whole area in there is bungalows, or raised bungalow perhaps. And this being a townhome, that are worried about it being a 2-story, that everybody's looking down now. It doesn't say anything about that, just says townhome. I think it said about 1,000 square foot per unit. And I know when I came there, there was it was used by an excavation company, and they had their repair garage there, heavy equipment. And I'm just wondering if everything is safe from what they were doing to this becoming homes. Thank you.
Would you like to address that at all, Kelly? I guess that'd be an environmental study if there was any, I guess, whatever the previous use was.
Yeah, that's the record of site condition that was submitted in 2021, so we do have that, and says that there are no contaminants.
So that was with the drill that they put in?
Yeah.
I believe there's 3 of them in there.
Yeah, exactly,
Okay.
test wells, yeah.
Okay, and there was nothing about the size of these townhomes?
I don't have any information at this time about sort of elevation
Right.
heights. I also, considering that it's townhomes, would assume that there probably are 2 stories. But we do have within the zones a maximum height for buildings, and I would assume that we're looking at something that's within that allowable setback, height.
Great, okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your attendance and questions. Anyone else like to come forward with any concerns or questions, please? Okay, seeing none, committee, I would ask you consider the recommendation. I'll entertain a motion. Any questions or comments? Councilor Kozovas, you move. Okay, seconder. Get one down this way. Councilor O'Neill. Any further questions or comments from the committee? Councilor Kozovas?
Just that the new build will complement the street much more than the existing structure that's there now. I think it's a good move.
Okay, very good. Councilor Brown, or Mr. Brown.
Thanks for the promotion.
Maybe in a year.
Yeah, really. I get your concern about they're townhomes, which kind of tells me it's pretty well synonymous with a 2-story home. And having lived in the city before I moved back here, some cases they're like 3 stories. Anecdotally, the town I grew up in, I lived in a 2-story that was actually there before the bungalows were built behind us. It never really caused any issues. But just overall, I just want to compliment the developers here. It's been said it's good planning. I think it's great planning. I think we're taking a parcel of land that's awkward and they're making the most of it. And I think, adding some rental units, townhouses is really well needed in this area. So definitely in favor of this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? If not, all in favor? Carried, thank you. We now move to item 7.5, Staff Report 25-067 PD, zoning bylaw amendment application. The owner is Christopher Shelley and Darcy Sign. Location is 672 Fish and Game Club Road and 694 Fish and Game Club Road. File numbers D09/S17/25. Ashley, would you like to address this application, please?
Through you, Mr. Chair. This rezoning is a condition of consent applications B14/25S and B15/25S, which were approved by the Committee of Adjustment on April 10th, 2025. Through consent application B14/25S, a 0.978 hectare parcel of land was severed for lot addition purposes off of 694 Fish and Game Club Road and added to lands north of 694 Fish and Game Club Road. In addition, through consent application B15/25S, a 483 square meter parcel of land was severed for lot addition purposes at 672 Fish and Game Club Road and added to the adjacent property located at 654 Fish and Game Club Road. The purpose of this zoning bylaw amendment is twofold: to rezone the conditionally approved severed lot at 694 Fish and Game Club Road from rural residential to agricultural to harmonize the zoning of the lot addition parcel with the benefiting property. The retained lot that is zoned as rural residential would remain unchanged. In addition, it would also rezone the conditionally approved severed lot at 672 Fish and Game Club Road from agricultural to rural residential to harmonize the zoning of the lot addition parcel with the benefiting property. The retained lot that is zoned as agricultural and rural would remain unchanged. The comments from the Fire Department and Quinte Conservation state no concerns. To date, there are no further staff or agency comments regarding this application. No residents to date have voiced concerns about the application. This application is consistent with the provincial planning statement, the city's official plan, and maintains the intent of the zoning bylaw. This application is therefore recommended for approval.
Okay, thank you very much, Ashley. Do we have anyone in attendance other than the applicant that would like to speak in favor? Anyone with general questions or opposition? Would the applicants like to speak at all, or I presume you're in attendance? Okay. All right, committee, you've heard the comments and you have a recommendation to approve. I would entertain a motion or any other questions.
Well, I'll be glad to make the motion. You know, this is a beautiful place, and at one time, beautiful farm operation. A lot of cows were milked there, a lot of good quality product produced. Yeah, the signs have been around for a day or two. So I thank you very much for the work you've done. And I always, when I get a chance to drive by there, I admire your operation and how neat and organized it appears to me. So do you have any Black Angus left, or did you get rid of all those? Oh, okay. Well, anyways, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I'll be glad to.
Okay, moved by Mayor Harrison, seconded by Mr. Edison. Any further questions or comments from the committee? Hearing none, all in favor? Carried, unanimous. Thank you. All right, now move to item 7.6, Staff Report 25-068 PD, zoning bylaw amendment application, and the owner is the City of Quinte West. The location is all wards. File number is D09/Q18/25. Davina, please. Would you like to comment on this, please?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. City Council approved the comprehensive zoning bylaw in 2014, and it is essential to periodically update it to reflect new or evolving provincial legislation, amendments to provincial policy, and changes to the official plan and general housekeeping matters. The proposed amendment removes commercial self-storage facilities and commercial greenhouses from the list of permitted uses in the corridor commercial zone to better align with its planned function. The intent of the zone is to support diverse, street-oriented commercial uses that create attractive, pedestrian-friendly, and transit-supportive environments in line with the city's official plan and the provincial planning statement. Uses such as commercial self-storage facilities and commercial greenhouses are more compatible in industrial, rural, or agricultural zones due to their large land footprints, low employment density, and limited interaction with the public realm. These uses are therefore being clarified and removed from the corridor commercial zone while continuing to be permitted in other zones within the city. Commercial self-storage facilities are permitted in the commercial rural and service industrial zones, and commercial greenhouses are permitted in the city's commercial rural, agricultural, and rural zones. This amendment ensures that Corridor Commercial Zone continues to function as a key growth area that supports intensification, efficient land use, and mixed-use pedestrian-oriented development. The amendment maintains conformity with the provincial planning policy and aligns with the city's planning and economic objectives. This application is recommended for approval, and to date, no comments from the public or agency have been received.
Okay, thank you very much, Davina. Do we have anyone in attendance who would like to address this application as presented? Anyone in opposition? Any general questions? Okay, thank you. Hearing none, I would ask the committee to consider the recommendation and the application as presented to approve. Councillor McHugh, Ms. Simmons, any further questions or comments? All in favor? Carried, thank you. We now move to item 7.7, Staff Report 25-069 PD, Official Plan Amendment Application, the owners of City of Quinte West. Location is all wards, file number D09/FT19/25. Davina, again, please.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. It is appropriate to periodically bring forward amendments that keep the official plan current by adjusting new or changing provincial legislation and regulations, update to provincial policy, or housekeeping matters. The proposed amendment in this report incorporates updated floodplain mapping into the City of Quinte West official plan, specifically Schedule E, natural hazards. This mapping was prepared by the Lower Trent Conservation Authority through the Federal Flood Hazard Identification and Mapping Program. The update covers Cold Creek, Mayhew Creek, and a portion of the Trent River. In addition, no further studies have been conducted on the two watercourses of Cold Creek and Mayhew Creek to support the continuation of the two-zone floodplain policies. As a result, these areas will now be treated as a one-zone flood hazard. These changes reflect improved modeling, data collection, and climate change considerations to provide more accurate information on flood risks. The updated mapping ensures the city's planning framework reflects the most current technical information, protects residents and properties, and is consistent with the provincial planning statement and maintains the intent of the official plan. This application is recommended for approval, and we have received no public or agency comments to this date.
Thank you very much. Do we have anyone in attendance who would like to address this application, either in opposition or have general questions? Okay, seeing none, committee, I would ask you to consider the recommendation to approve as presented. Mr. Edison moves, Councillor Quinte seconds. Any further questions or comments regarding this? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Your comments regarding the applications and staff reports have been recorded and will be forwarded to the members of council together with the minutes of this, excuse me, of this meeting. Council will make a decision to approve or refuse each stated application at the regularly scheduled council meeting of Wednesday, September the 17th, 2025. We now move into public input. Anyone have anything to bring forward, either what has been dealt with or something new? Please come state your name and address.
Spencer Hutchison, 259 Dundas Street West. Just listening to the meeting tonight and other things. We're a city that's changing and growing, and I have a pet peeve. Dundas stops at Tripp Boulevard, and from Tripp Boulevard west, it's Old Highway 2. We're growing that way, commercial, industrial, residential. I really would think, or would love to see the city look at changing Dundas Street so it continues at least to Second Dog Hill, if not to County Road 40. It's a legacy of a county boundary, but it makes no sense that you're driving west on Dundas and at the secondary school it turns into Old Highway 2 or Highway 2. All those properties out there, the restaurants and everything else in Dollarama, they should have a Dundas Street West address. So I just bring it to you through staff that It's something that needs to be tidied up as housekeeping.
Okay.
Sorry about that, but just a pet
I don't know,
peeve.
Brian, you want to address that? That'd be future considerations, I guess, but.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. We'll definitely take that forward. I think it's, as Ms. Hutchison kind of alluded to, as a town grows out, things change. Road names suddenly change where it maybe doesn't make any sense anymore. So definitely periodic reviews are warranted, and I'll certainly pass that on to the appropriate channels. Thank you.
Okay. You going to make a comment, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I understand where Spencer's coming from. I understand that he's lived on number 2 Highway for a long time. And Councillor Elliott and I came from Murray Ward. The Murray Ward boundary is the east side of St. Paul's School. So, there's a lot of rural area involved in this city. Yes, there is. Mr. Sign is a fine example. I'm a little jealous because I have whites and they're not worth as much as the blacks. So, listen, there's a fair amount of work that's going to be done on number 2 Highway in the next few years. We want to put some more roundabouts in. You may have seen some stakes at Lang's Corner. We're looking at roundabouts and coming east at Dug Hill Road, some roundabouts, and we've got to put a wastewater line, the water line down through there, so you're looking at about $140 million to do that. So there's a lot of tidying up to do, and you're absolutely right. Spencer, I hope you see it all completed because I notified you. Thank you.
Okay. Any other public input? Please come forward. You can discuss any concerns you might have. It doesn't necessarily have to be on the agenda. Okay. Seeing none, we'll carry on. Councillor Card, have a comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and briefly to second Mr. Hutchinson's suggestion. I know, speaking about Front Street, that the experience there, which of course from Dundas to Telephone Road has many different names, that part of the conversations about that, not internally with the city, just Chamber of Commerce, other organizations in the city. I know that once businesses get established, especially between signage and other marketing, that I think the longer and longer that there are established businesses and other entities there, the harder and larger financial burden it is to do address changes and street name changes over time. So it certainly would make sense while development is still happening and a lot of these places aren't necessarily open, and the final commercial buildings having been erected, that if that change was to happen, it would make sense before they're established, certainly.
Yeah, one other comment, Mr. Chair, sorry, I interfere with someone. It'd be nice when we put up signs that we even spelled them correct.
Yes, we had one variance this week sent to me from Second Dug Hill, and it was kind of the misspelled, I guess, but I know Mr. Jackson is probably have to deal with that, but we think it was a developer that probably put that sign up there. It was D-O-U-G instead of D-U-G, so anyway, if anyone wants to see it, I do have a copy on my phone that the gentleman sent me through, so.
Woof, woof.
Anyway, Mr. Brown, do you have a comment? No? Okay.
Sorry, I guess I'm just holding my hand up.
Oh, okay. I didn't know you were going like this, so I don't want to leave anybody out. Okay, is there any other further comments? We'll move on. We'll have presentations. We have none that I see. Delegations, none. And we have a decision item, which is 11.1 staff report 25-061 PD, assigned variance. The owner is 1000856987. The address is 282 Dundas Street East, and I know we don't have William here today, so I think we have our chief building official, Mr. Lappens here, and maybe want to address this. And we do have as I said, a supplemental, I guess, report of what from the original that we had here. So if you want to address that before I ask the committee to consider and entertain any questions from the public.
Thank you to you, Mr. Chair. You may recall that this application was in front of the Planning Advisory Committee at the July 17th meeting, which time it was deferred to allow us to go back and engage further with the applicant. So the building staff did meet with the applicant. We had a productive discussion in which the sign proposal is now to move it from the east side of the property over to the west side of the property. Now, I will comment that due to the size of the lot and the size of the building that's there and the configuration, there really is nowhere on this site that the sign could meet the sign bylaw, which is why we're here with this variance. So we've taken a look at this. Moving that sign over to the west side of the property is really the best option and the preferred option. Staff agrees with that, and essentially we're moving that this sign now be approved at that west end of the property.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone in attendance like to address this application, either opposition or general questions? Okay, seeing none. And we do have a recommendation that was handed to me that the committee recommends that the application for variance to the sign law submitted by 1000856987 Ontario Inc. at 282 Dundas Street East to install a pylon sign less than 1 meter from the side lot line instead of the required 3 meters be approved. So that's the motion, and I would entertain either mover and a seconder or any questions. Mr. Brown?
To move, please.
Move, okay. I have a seconder. Councillor Card. Any further questions or comment? Mrs. Simmons?
Sorry. So does the business just to the west of this have any comments, or anybody got in touch with them, or they're aware
I don't know
that's gonna be
whether
there?
committee, maybe Mr. Lappin, do you know whether there was any conversations in that regard?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we've not received any comments from any of the other business owners around that area.
Okay, thank you. No further questions? If not, all in favor? Approval? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay, moving on here. Now we move into items 12 and 12.1 and 12.2. We got monthly planning reports and committee minutes. I would entertain a motion to approve both of those and entertain any questions you might have. Ms. Simmons, Mayor Harrison, any questions regarding any of those items as far as information? Councillor Cart.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Did just want to say briefly, I guess I didn't want to comment during the subdivision conversation, I guess, as it's only tangentially related, but this is the kind of the problem that was mentioned by different parties during the conversation there, is that development is not happening for economic reasons. Properties that have been developed, residential housing, as desperate as we are, they're not selling. Municipality, I don't have the most recent numbers. I haven't bothered Director of Planning Services for them recently, but in last time that I did, a few months ago, there were 600 residential, approximately 600 residential units, whether multifamily, detached, semi-detached, 600 residential units that were ready for building permits to be pulled. And we're in this housing crisis, and as a municipality, of course, we can't compel developers to build into suboptimal market conditions. Of course, Councillor O'Neill noted no one will ever build to sell at a loss. And so we're faced with this situation where this committee, I think, has done a great job this term, approving tons of projects. Staff does really well getting to yes, and yet we're here. And again, I don't think unless higher levels of government, there is no entity that can step in and push back against market forces. And lots of these projects will get developed as soon as prices rise to a certain level and market demand comes back. But of course, we need everyone to be building during the downtimes too to catch up and get some of this excess demand soaked up. So I don't know. It's one of the most frustrating issues we deal with. But I just heard all the back and forth and comments and wanted to just mention that. It's just 600 was the number last count, and can't compel anyone to build.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other, Brian, do you want to comment on that, please?
Yeah, maybe just to make sure that we're clear that there are still houses being built. Maybe not at the rate that we would like to see, and some of the targets that we hear literally every day in the news. I've never never existed through a period where planning and development is such a everyday news item, unfortunately. But so we are still building houses. And I think the other thing that I would maybe say is that it's a pendulum and it does swing, particularly while I'm certainly nowhere near an economist at any level. My own banking accounts would attest to that. But things do change, right? And what we do in planning is we create the condition, we create the ability for that to happen when that time is right. We have a lot more data now than we've ever had before. We have a housing needs assessment that, to maybe speak to one of Ms. Simmons' comments earlier, we have a housing needs assessment that tells us that there really is no danger in approving projects that may not move forward quickly to construction at this point in time, because the deficit, this local deficit, we have very local numbers now, and the deficit locally is very large. And so we can, while it's not great that the supply of available lots is getting larger, we're not in any danger of an oversupply situation. If the market adjusts itself and starts to move forward. The other thing that we'll probably see and hopefully see is that there's always, again, a pendulum between, particularly in the scale of development that happens in this municipality, where you get a lot of builder developers that cover everything from the planning stage all the way through to constructing the homes. And so their focus shifts, right? The focus shifts backwards and forwards between planning and building. If and when the building permit side of things starts to really ramp up and everything adjusts at the market level and homes are flying off the shelves, we will probably see less activity in the planning stage. Now, obviously, there's a cost that comes with the planning stage, but local developers seem willing, as you've seen tonight, to take that level of risk and move forward, as I say, create that condition so that housing is available as and when it's needed, or sites for housing are available, provide the infrastructure, so on and so forth, so that when the building permits start to move forward, we're in a good place. But what we'll probably see at that point in time is the focus of local developers will shift to house construction and less so on the planning side. But I'm certainly, while the numbers are high, and we're definitely higher than the 600 number that I said to you before, we're not in any danger of, well, I don't fear that that's a number that causes me any concern, because the deficit number is significantly larger than that.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other comments in that regard before I call the vote to receive? All in favor of the receiving of both of those items? Carried, thank you. We now move down to item 13, non-printed information. We have none. We have requests for information. We'll go around the table. Start with Ms. Simmons. Anything tonight? Mr. Brown? No? Councillor O'Neill? Mayor? Councillor Quinte.
Just a comment that Councillor Ellier, Councillor Sharp, and Councillor Stedall and I attended the Oak Lake, Friends of Oak Lake annual meeting, and we got to go on a boat tour, and the lake is looking very clear. It's still got some weeds, still has a few questions, but I think we're working in the right direction. Thanks to Planning Department and the Public Works Department and all the work that's gone on in the past number of years, and the citizens that live there, and echoing the Mayor's comments about how the citizens there are working hard to keep their lake looking really good and improving. We even saw 2 baby loons growing fast, and they as we were sailing past them, the mother or father let us know that we were getting too close. Anyways, I also saw in the crowd we had another Hawaiian shirt. I want to thank that gentleman for coming tonight. Make me feel better that I wasn't the only one. Oh, there's 2 down there. Right, awesome. How'd it go, Mr. McHugh? There we go. It's catching on. Let's party hardy. Thanks.
That's up to interpretation, maybe. Councillor McHugh, you do have the
I have
kick of the
nothing
cat
tonight,
here.
Chair. Thank you. No.
Councillor Carden?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And yes, I just want to follow up as to ours. My previous comment was there are good things going on, as Director of Planning Services mentioned. And in addition to the Hastings County College Street project that is ongoing, they broke ground on. We did have an information session in council chambers a few weeks ago with the proposal for the other College Street a mixed two-building, mixed housing unit proposal, and very wonderful to learn all the details on those. And I know it's still moving through the process, but it was great to see all of the interest in the community, and that's one of the great developments that are going on right now that'll hopefully relieve some of this pressure that we talk about and alleviate some of the lack of housing in the community that the housing needs assessment has identified. So,
okay, thank you. Councillor Kosovas? Mr. Edison? Okay. You know, I thought maybe you'd give us a big speech on what things are like in Newfoundland. Maybe that's
Smoky. They need houses there.
Anyway, we thank you committee for your attendance this evening, and then I don't see any notice of motion at this time. Staff, before I sign off, any further comments or concerns or new information to bring forward?
If I may just briefly, just picking up on the information provided there by Councillor Card, the zoning application will be on the agenda next month for the George Street Village, the former College Street School site, so that will be on the agenda in September.
Okay, that's good news. All right, if there's nothing else, I would like to thank everyone for their attendance, and staff and members of the public, and I know some of them have left already, but anyway, we try to be entertaining, keep everybody entertained. But anyway, without further ado, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Edison? Who we got here? Ms. Simmons. Both ends of the table here, so there we go. All in favor? Opposed? All of that's unanimous. Meeting adjourned. Do you need any of these names or anything?